everyone, my name is Jennifer. Those of you who know me online may know me better as Estrella. I'm here to talk about my journey with gastroparesis. It has been a very long one, full of ups and downs. It was 2005, and I was 18 at the time I was diagnosed, and I had to fight so very hard to finally reach a diagnosis of gastroparesis. It started with what I thought was a stomach flu at the time. I couldn't keep anything down after I'd eat. I would just pretty much instantly vomit or vomit 15, 20 minutes later after I was eating. As time went on, it kept getting worse and not better, and I was becoming quite concerned. I was starting to lose weight very rapidly, and I couldn't keep a single bite of food from coming back up after I'd try and eat. I went to see my family doctor, and I was very scared at that point. And he brushed me off and said it was just acid reflux, gave me a prescription, and said to come back in a week if it didn't get better. So after a week with zero change and still losing weight, I was back in his office. He again didn't listen to me and my concerns and gave me another prescription for a different acid reflux pill and said to come back if that didn't help. At this point, I had lost close to 30 pounds and was in pretty rough shape. I went back to see him the following week and refused to leave his office until he actually listened to me and did something about what was happening. It was at that point that he tried to tell me that it was all in my head and accused me of being bulimic and said I needed mental health help. At that point in my life, I was already in therapy, on medication, and getting help for unrelated mental health issues, bulimia not being one of those. If he had ever bothered to listen to me or read my file or anything, he would have known that. I screamed and I cried and I just broke down and I said he had to do something, and I wasn't doing this to myself. I just wanted to be heard. I just wanted help. I was terrified and I had no idea what was wrong, and I was slowly wasting away. He finally agreed to send me over to the hospital, but he told me that they wouldn't find anything wrong with me. I was admitted to the hospital where I spent over 3 weeks with an amazing gastroenterologist who actually listened to me, acknowledged that something was very wrong, and ran every test he could until he found out what was behind all of this. He was very upset that my family doctor had let me get so bad and brushed me off countless times. At the time, gastroparesis was quite unheard of in my city, so they didn't think to check for it until every other test came back negative. The gastric emptying scan finally gave me my answer. My stomach emptying process was quite delayed, and I had gastroparesis. I consider myself extremely lucky that over the years my symptoms remained mild to moderate, with some flare-ups here and there. My body continued to respond to the domperidone medication that was given to me. Now, let's fast forward a decade when everything changed again. It was like I was 18 all over again and starting this cycle for a second time. I ended up hospitalized where I met my new gastroenterologist, who has been very supportive and helpful in fighting for me. One of the first things he did was repeat my gastric emptying scan, where that revealed that my gastroparesis had become extremely severe over the years, showing that less than 1% of my stomach was actually functioning and digesting now. So we cycled through all the regular medications, which either didn't help or I developed horrible reactions to. This continued for a few more months as I progressively became worse. I eventually had to be hospitalized with a temporary nasojejunal tube. My gastroenterologist decided to try a medication called Resotran. On release from the hospital, I was responding very well to the medication, and this continued for several months. However, flare-ups started again, and without being able to keep medications down, my health was declining once again. That's when another part of my journey started, and I had no other options. I tried all of the medications available in Canada. Everything was failing me. So before going ahead and booking into a surgery for a permanent feeding tube, I asked my gastroenterologist if he would refer me to be able to try medical cannabis. And that's what I did, and I met with a wonderful doctor who guided me through the process. And to this day now, that is still what I use as my primary medication to control my gastroparesis symptoms. It's not something that will necessarily work for everyone, but it's something that works for me and works for a lot of gastroparesis patients when the medications have kind of failed us. So that's able to keep my symptoms at bay most days. I still have flare-ups once in a while, but that's kept things relatively calm on my side for the past few years. I'm hoping that it stays that way. If things stop working again, I'll be looking at getting a permanent GJ feeding tube, as a lot of us end up on feeding tubes or TPN or things like that. That's been kind of my life for the past 14 years with gastroparesis. I truly hope that in my lifetime we will see a cure for this awful, awful disease, so nobody else has to suffer through this. And I really just wanted to get my story out there, and I thank you very much for listening to it, and thank everyone for watching and for your continued support. Have a great day. Bye bye.